Alright, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. I, let's start off by saying this. You've got people in other countries building monuments to Charlie Kirk. I don't think anybody really realized how much of a influence that individual had on the planet. Seeing all the vigils and stuff that none of the mainstream outlets are talking about, none of the Democratic outlets are talking about. You see how Democratic outlets and Republican outlets are trying to obfuscate responsibility. And no, I don't mean the taking responsibility for Charlie Kirk's death. That is a Democrat thing. They need to take responsibility for it. They might say, we're taking responsibility for it by sentencing the guy to death. I guarantee even though they're pushing for it, he might not get the death penalty. If he does, he'll sit on death row for who knows how long. But this existence, as proposed in the Bible, is supposed to be hell. Like, Satan rules this earth. And the problem is when the people who support his views don't understand and cannot be convinced otherwise. And that's where we are right now as a nation. I see a lot of people who probably would have never created YouTube channels, probably would have never spoken up at any time, making YouTube channels, starting to speak their mind, coming out and saying, hey, we tried to tell you guys before, we're not okay with this. That's why, so many people showed up to Trump's rallies. Now, here's the thing. We need to be honest with ourselves, first off. Because since I was about 10 years old, I've been watching the working class make room for the Democratic Party. Because every time that they didn't, every time that we didn't, or tried to say, hey, we think that's wrong, we were called bigoted, racists. The transphobia thing's new, honestly. It used to be anti-gay. They used to tell us we don't want people to have gay rights or be able to spend the rest of their life with someone. I'm sorry, but if you need to have the state involved to spend the rest of your life with someone, I don't really know how much you care about that individual. I really don't. That's just the honest truth. So, and because my opinion is on it that you shouldn't need a piece of paper to say before yourself, God, and whoever you worship that I want to spend the rest of my life with this individual. That should be a commitment you should be able to make within yourself. Because if you can't stand on your own convictions, you don't believe in those convictions. You just don't. And as you can see, I'm currently at work, so this is kind of like a talking point from the eyes of a working class individual. Someone who doesn't make over six figures. Someone who, at the end of the month, has $100 left in their bank account and trying to figure out how they're going to pay rent next month. And yes, I am in a Class A vehicle. I still don't make enough. My take home about every month is about $4,000. That is not due to my business not paying me enough for a decent wage. That has to do with how much the government takes out of me before I get to see any of it. I don't have health insurance. I can't afford health insurance. I break my body. I literally have chronic back pain that I cannot get help for because I simply can't afford it. As long as my body works and I can still walk, I will be crushing this body into the ground to try to make a living. And that is the people that were at those vigils. And not all of them were Republican. I bet you there was quite a number of Democrats out there too. Believe it or not, I actually started watching Charlie Kirk recently. And I actually didn't agree with a lot of the shorts that I saw on YouTube about him. Because I don't believe in interrupting your enemy when they speak. Let them, let the public, let the court of public opinion decide how stupid or correct their ideologies are, and people will pick their side accordingly. Now, when it comes down to brass tacks, you'll find out whether or not you were morally in the right, or if you saw the situation in the right light. But a lot of people are coming to these situations and they're not listening to each other in good faith. They're waiting for the other person to respond so they can say what they wanted to say next. They already come with a predisposition of, my view is right, your view is wrong, and there's no common ground. Either you agree with me or we're enemies. And that's how we got to where we are. But what I'm seeing a lot of is not, like, there's not a lot of representation for people that are like me. Because we're silent. We don't talk. We don't get on YouTube. We don't have the time for it. Simply put, we have to try to make a living. And then people are like, well, start a YouTube channel. Make something. Write a book. Find other ways to, sit there and get other sources of income. We're never taught that. Anytime that we are creative when we're younger is completely stifled. So now you have to wait to an adult age to even start learning the skills that you need to make anything. And that is a problem with the Republican Party, because our parents were trained, the way you make money is you get a job, go in there, look somebody in the eye, shake their hand, and say, I want an opportunity. And prove that you can be respectful and knowledgeable about what you're trying to get yourself into. When you work 10 to 12 hours a day, when you live out of a truck, when you have to work 3 jobs to put food on the table, when you're working at McDonald's, Walmart, and Price Chopper just to pay the bills, meanwhile your significant other sits there and works their 3 jobs, Dollar General, Family Dollar, and, stocking Walmart at night. You guys have 2 kids, and your rent is $2,000 to $3,000 a month. That's reality for a lot of Americans, and that's why a lot of Americans are very upset. Because now we were told we have to make room for these people. We have to make room for their opinions, their ideologies, and stuff like that. Well, now you have people in government that are not representing us anymore. And by us, I mean the working class people. You have people making money off of the working class. And let's be honest. Let's be honest with ourselves here. The Democrats won. Look at Trump's past. He's not Republican. He was pro-choice for a lot of his time. Myself, I'm libertarian. I actually thought I was Republican for the longest time. I challenge you, go to Google, look up what you think you are, and then look up the other types of ideologies within politics. And you're probably not what you think you are. I'm actually pro-choice. Here's why. My ex got an abortion. When she did, she called me crying. Now, mind you, she did have that kid with someone else. But she said when she got the abortion, she felt like something was taken from her. That was her choice. She felt like there was something taken from her heart, she would never get back. She could feel that soul in her before she got the abortion. She just didn't know it. So she calls me crying, and I asked her why she was calling me. Because I told her not to get the abortion. I told her not to do it. And once that happened, I lost all just all respect for her as a human. Because if you make that decision and then you feel like you just had something taken from you when you were warned not to do something, it's my choice not to feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for the life that was taken, but that's my choice. That's why I'm pro-choice. If you get an abortion and you don't feel that way, good on you. That's the way that you feel. That was your choice. That's fine. But everybody should be entitled to their choices. That's what America was based on. Every time you start talking about God, or you should have morals because of God, I think you automatically lose the conversation. Because you're trying to explain God to godless people. You're trying to explain something to people that they fundamentally don't believe in. And believe it or not, science can actually, give evidence to evolution. Theories, things are created. If you look in Genesis, it only talks about the earth being created, and we know that more than just the earth exists. So, again, if you're gonna use something as evidence, you can't have any holes in it. And then, if you also say, well, you have to be this religion to be morally correct, you lose people there too, because people want to have autonomy. That's the problem with this country, is that this country was built on giving people the space that they need to have autonomy. Because guess what? You have to enforce freedom. You can't let freedom just happen. Freedom doesn't just happen. Look throughout history. People need more workers. They don't want to put that work on their citizens, so they go enslave another race of people. That's reality, and it's happened over and over and over again. It's just the new flavor of it in the U.S. was slavery. But we weren't the first ones, and we didn't invent it. And the thing is, was that wrong? Abso-freaking-lutely. There's no way that I should go and be able to find a documentary on slavery and having kids standing over somebody's burning body like they're at a family barbecue. Like it's a family event. That is messed up more than I can even express. But I'm not going to side with a delusion either. This is the problem. So I bet you most of those people out there, a lot of them probably went to Trump rallies. A lot of them aren't probably Republican. And I can tell you most of them probably didn't vote, considering that the amount of people that actually voted last election was like, what, a third of the population of the U.S.? I think people are talking about the wrong thing. They're talking about Charlie Kirk's death, yes. It's sad. But you have people saying, okay, I think everybody needs to calm down, both on the right and the left. Go look back at any recent event since George Floyd. And if you don't feel like looking it up, you can use AI to do it. Any AI. You can use Google to look it up, and go figure, most of those platforms are owned by Democratic individuals, by the way. Just go look up the events of recent years, and people will be like, what about that one Republican shooting over there, or that shooting over there? They won't tell you about any of the trans shootings. They won't tell you about it. That is an obfuscation of the truth. Another obfuscation of the truth is saying that the right does more damage than the left. Coming from someone who is libertarian, evidently, that's just fundamentally not true. How many cities burned when Charlie Kirk died? What was the reaction when Charlie Kirk died? It was vigils all over the planet. And the reaction of the government told me that they are afraid of that many people. Just the sheer numbers alone. They are fearful of it. And considering the people's reactions on the left, this event is probably going to happen again. And you have a bunch of people like me who never wanted to do any of this. I hate social media. Most of the stuff that's posted on Facebook was posted by my family because I don't like to go and talk to people. I don't like to have an obligation to groups of people. I have a couple friends, and we talk to each other a couple times, maybe a month, if that. Maybe we'll go 3 months without talking and then text one another like, hey, what's up, what's going on, how you feeling, what you doing, to make sure each other are still alive. Then we go back to trying to manage our own lives because we literally just don't have the time for our friends. But you have to give up time to have relationships with people. When you've literally created a class of people who cannot get ahead working a single job, hell, even sometimes working 3 jobs, still can't get ahead. The country is broken. The country's broken. The Democrats won because now you have Democrats running on both sides. Because what they say now is the Overton window for what the Republicans are has shifted. People's beliefs didn't shift. What we accept as Republican shifted because of the lack of representation for the working class. So the working class keeps on getting up and going to work every day, hoping that somebody will make their lives easier. And it's not happening. And it's not going to happen. That's the hard truth. So they take all of your hard work, separate you from the fruits of your labor, charge you more than what you can afford to live, and then say, well, at least you're not, living like a third world country. At least you have plumbing. Doesn't matter that when your body finally breaks, you won't be able to make a living anymore, and those just shrug their shoulders and say, okay, you can die. That's fine, you're no longer our issue. I wanted so bad for Trump to be the solution. I think a lot of people did. I think that's why so many people showed up for his rallies and things. But if you think that you went to the voting booth and made a difference, you are sorely mistaken. Go look at why the Electoral College was created. Go look at why it was created. And why it was created was already solved, so why do we still have it today if it's not in use the way that was intended to be used when it was created? The popular vote doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Not even a little. The reason why Trump won, and then people tried to assassinate him, was because of how many people actually showed up to his events. The government was able to physically see how many people wanted his change. Like, they wanted change. That's what it was. And I'll tell you what kind of change they want. They want to be able to get up, go to work every day, and not feel like they're going to have to work for the rest of their lives. They want to feel like they can enjoy their life a little, not just get 1 week off a year and spend that week on a cruise or something that costs maybe $1,000, and then go right back to work. People say, oh, that's enough. That's enough for them. No. Slavery has just changed and never went anywhere. They just made carpetbaggers slaves. Carpetbaggers did get a wage. There's a reason why there's that derogatory term for them back from that time period. We're doing the same thing. We're still doing the same thing. And then people are like, oh, you should be happy you have a job. I should be happy that I'm breaking my body and I won't ever get ahead in life. I should be happy about that. Oh, go create a business. How do you do that? Go get a business license. How do you do that? Oh, make sure you're getting the most out of your taxes. A third of my paycheck disappears before I get it every week. And then I'm charged on the full amount that I did not receive. And then they said, oh, well, that's what the tax return's for. Last 2 tax returns I've had to pay. So you tell me. You tell me what's going on. Because from what I can see, there's no representation for the working class. You have Democrats running on both sides now. You have nobody who gives a damn about the working class and whether they can live or not, or what their quality of life actually is. You have billionaires that literally allow gangs to operate within the U.S. without impunity. All of them. Any gang that traffics illicit drugs, so cocaine, fentanyl, any of it. Any naturally grown drug should not be illegal. If it comes out of the ground and doesn't have to be processed, is gathered just like a fruit or a vegetable, should not be illegal. Now if somebody ODs on it, natural selection. Awesome. That handles your whole problem with overpopulation that billionaires seem to be worried about. But it's not only the illicit drug trade, right? I've gotten 3 Amber Alerts in the last 72 hours. So you have human trafficking. You've got gang members shooting people just for gang initiation, because that's just some random person who gives a damn about their life. You've got people abducting children still, even after the Epstein thing. And they're all able to operate within the U.S. And you ask a cop why that is. Why is this the case? Why is it the case that I have to get up every day, go to work, I can't be armed? If I'm armed, I get in trouble for it. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't have any way to defend myself at all. So effectively, my Second Amendment rights are taken from me, and I can't do anything about it. And a cop will tell you, well, it's because the law gets in its own way. A cop will show up and help deal with the grievances of people. They'll help with the aftermath, but solving the problem so that way it's not a problem, to make their job safer, my life safer, safe to walk the streets, they can't do anything about it. They say their hands are tied. So you can't do anything until it's already too late. Awesome. And we saw that with Charlie Kirk's death, because the ideology that created that killer, the ideology that manifested that whole situation still refuses to take responsibility. So when you say that you have to gut your enemies to a mass audience after the death of such a prominent figure that they're building monuments to him in other countries because you don't actually watch him, you read headlines and you go, well, this many people can't be wrong. It's a city hall fallacy, right? What is there more of? I think we know now, without a shadow of a doubt. And what's going to happen is these Democrats that actually created this situation are going to try to slink behind these working class individuals. And to me, that's not acceptable. They're going to say they're sorry, and we understand now, and 10 years from now, we're going to be right back in the same position. Like, exactly where we are today. And because nobody wants to solve the problem, they want to kind of band-aid the symptoms. So, the reason why I didn't watch Charlie Kirk till recently was because the shorts and stuff that I saw, he was very aggressive with his views, and the second you mentioned God, I shut down. Because it's not that I don't believe in God. It's that you live in a country where you're supposed to be able to believe what you want to believe. That is a fundamental value of a U.S. citizen. You want to study the Quran? Go ahead. You want to go ahead and open a business and make it so, people who walk in there see God paraphernalia everywhere? Go ahead. It's your private business. That's your deal. If you want to worship Buddha, you should be able to do that within the U.S. Nobody should have any problem with that. The thing that was always supposed to be said for the U.S. citizens was, you're able to believe what you want to believe until you start infringing on someone else's rights. So what's funny about that is that makes the U.S. state entirely a libertarian state. The country of the U.S. of A. is libertarian by the Constitution. Live and let live, and you're not allowed to infringe on someone else's rights. That means you can't commit violence against them. You cannot have defamation against them. You can have a debate about whether their beliefs are right or wrong, but you can't sit there and shame them for what they believe in. You can't, or you're not supposed to be able to. So, I think with all the amendments, the Constitution that they had and things, and how people have been twisting and turning the Constitution to fit their needs rather than actually listening to the Constitution, is a problem in the U.S. It was a problem during civil rights. It's a problem today. And I guarantee you there's a lot of people out there saying right now, well, the right's finally getting what they deserve for civil rights. They're finally getting it. It's finally our turn. No one who did civil rights is alive today. No one who is involved in dealing that much damage to another race is alive today. Does that make it right? No. But what happens when you make people pay for the transgressions of their ancestors? You want to go all the way back? We can find something in your bloodline that makes you a predator. We can find something in your bloodline that makes you evil. Guarantee it. I promise you. We go far enough back. I promise you we can do that for everybody on this planet. Because all of our blood is tainted. God said after the flood, that was it. He wasn't doing this again. He wasn't resetting the earth again for us. It was our responsibility to keep evil out. God defeated evil for us in the past. But this is what I'm saying. If you don't truly believe that, what I just said doesn't mean anything to you. The Bible doesn't mean anything to you. Nothing means anything to you. So here's what I challenge everybody to do. Because I'm at my time limit. I've got to get back to work and unload this truck. But I would take out a sheet of paper. Write down what you think your morals are. Write them all down. Make it bullet points. And then go back to each one and make a one-sentence argument for why you believe in that thing. And then at the top of the page, write down what you think you are. And then go and Google all of the political spectrum, all the political stances. Capitalism, libertarian, Republican, Democrat, all of it. Just everyone you can think of. And then if you can't think of any more, ask AI for what are all the political stances that are recognized as political parties in the U.S. And hell, if you want to go even further, I just did it within the U.S. But if you want to go even further than that, look at all of them from every different country. What are the political stances that exist that are acknowledged as political stances? Write that at the top, underneath whatever you think you are, once you find out what you actually are. I think a lot of the reason why we can't have any conversations is because people don't even know what they are to begin with. They don't know what their morals are. They just go with what makes them feel good in the moment. They don't actually know what they believe in. And I think this whole thing is a question of morality, especially with the whole Epstein thing. There should have been a ton of people actually crucified for what happened with this Epstein files, but yet nobody's held responsible. And everybody wants to scrape, yeah, Trump was involved. I promise you, there were multiple people on the right and the left, and I don't know who they are. They said they released a list, but the FBI came out and just lied about it 100%. Like, straight up. And they'll tell you the same thing that a cop will tell you. The law gets in its own way, so there's nothing that we can do to these people. Yes, there is. Yes, you can. We saw that when the left used the justice system to, no pun intended, trump up charges on Trump. Now they bring it up as evidence that, oh, he was convicted of 34 counts of felony charges. No, he wasn't. And if you can't be honest about that, what can you be honest about? You've got people trying to literally impeach him right now as we speak, after trying to assassinate him 3 times. People say 2. No, it was 3. The last one that I heard of was a car bombing that was caught before they were actually able to do it. I'm telling you right now, the fuse has been lit for the U.S. And the way this ends is completely up to our government. If they all want us to kill each other, they'll make it so. And it's not right or left. It's the people who oppress the population and forcibly take from them what they wish without giving pretty much anything in return. They don't go and die for the country. That's our soldiers that do that. Soldiers may have a lot of money when they come back, but guess what? That wage isn't great while they're in there. Have you seen what a private makes? And yet, they want to say they're protecting our country. No, it's the soldiers. Just like our officers are the ones out here risking their lives. That's why they don't want to pull over somebody who doesn't look like a law-abiding citizen. They would much rather go home to their kids at night. Don't get me wrong, you'll have a few cops out there who will go out of their way to look for people like that because they really do want to do the right thing for the population, but most people are just trying to exist. And if you don't hold people responsible for committing violence in a civil society, you don't have a civil society. And people want to argue, that's exactly why we need gun control. Let me tell you why you're an idiot. Why is the Second Amendment in place? Why was it originally wrote into the Constitution? The reason is because they didn't want us turning into what they escaped in England. They didn't want us going back to a rule where you have a single person making all of the decisions for the people and then taxing them into the ground like we see today. They didn't want that to happen again. So their solution was allow the public to arm themselves so they can deal with the government when they start taxing them into the ground inevitably. Because they thought about this. It's inevitable for a government or a single person or anybody who has all the access to every resource to not become corrupt. It's not a question of what's corrupt and what's not. You can't say socialism isn't corrupt. Look at the rest of the planet. It's just corrupt here too. It's just in a different way. It has to wear a mask. It's the same thing, though. It's a third world country with a Gucci belt, right, guys? I don't think there's enough people talking who actually see what's going on from both sides. If you're not in the center, if you're not having conversations with both sides, if you're not existing in a realm where you can say, hey, somebody needs to pay for what Epstein did. There were many more people involved. All of those people need to be held accountable. Well, what does accountability look like? They got enough money, they don't got to worry about jail. We saw the response of what the actual majority looks like. And the actual majority doesn't give a damn if you're right or left. We don't. We care about what's right. And what will allow us to live a life that we can enjoy. People get in their feelings about situations. They say, okay, well, the Bible says, by the sweat of your brow, you will eat bread. There's something to that effect. Does that not mean we should have an existence where everybody can live peaceful lives and not have to worry about getting stabbed or shot while walking down the street? The reason why we don't have vigilante justice in a good society is because we need more than just a single individual calling judgment. we have to have a group of people saying, we don't want this in our society. And that's why biases for judges is supposed to be illegal. You're not supposed to be able to be a judge if you have a bias. But we've got too many people with biases in the Supreme Court that can't let them go. That's why Trump was in the position that he was in. We should have never had a leader that was put in that position. And then you talk about, well, the people, every person that actually tried to make a difference in the country for the positive was assassinated. And the FBI had a hand in it most of the time. If you haven't read The Shadow Cell, I recommend that you do. At least watch the interview on YouTube with the CEO guy. Because it'll give you a really good insight into what the FBI is actually capable of. And you would not believe the amount of things that they can make look like accidents. And then they just get the news reporting, what they report around it, to report it as that thing, and then it becomes truth, whether it is or not. And there are a lot of people who will say, well, we have to do messed up things to keep the peace here in the U.S. U.S. doesn't look so peaceful to me. I watched this country deteriorate since I was young. When I was a kid, my family would take a vacation to Myrtle Beach every year. Every year. Go to the pavilion. You can't walk the streets of Myrtle Beach right now without having to worry about being stabbed, robbed, or shot. There's people in Myrtle Beach right now. I'm pretty sure somebody saw it. A guy got shot over a parking space in Myrtle Beach. It was a couple of years ago now, but that happened. How many don't get reported? We only ever see the news of people that are like really controversial, you know? We only see like the things that'll get the most reactions. And that's not the reality of the situation. And this is kind of the setup of the bowling pins before the strike. And I need someone to hear my voice. I need someone with true political power to hear this and say, yes, we are going to allow people on the bottom to be connected to the fruits of their labor. Again, we are going to allow people to be able to support an entire household off of a single income. Because as of right now, in my lifetime, I will never own a house. It's never going to happen. I can't save enough money to buy a piece of land, much less a house. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe they don't want us to own anything. Maybe they don't want U.S. citizens to have autonomy anymore. If that's the case, there's really nothing I can personally do about it. We can only do something about it as a collective. And it's really disappointing. The world used to be so different when I was from the ages of 10 to 15. People struggled, yes, but a single mom with 2 sons could do it. She might be frustrated and angry and everything like that, but she could do it on her own. Working at Big Lots. moving boxes, breaking her body. At least she could go to the doctors. Same thing with my dad. My dad could do it, working for Freihofers. And yet, I don't have any kids and I can't do it. That should tell you something about the state of our country. And one of two things are going to happen. Either someone in government is going to fix it, or the country is going to collapse and all the people with all the money are going to disappear to other countries, and it's us who are going to suffer for their choices, for what they took from us, for what they decide to put into policy and said it's for our betterment. It's not. If it was for our betterment, the guy who stabbed the girl on the train wouldn't be out right now. He wouldn't be out of jail. It just, I find it funny that when a dog bites somebody, we automatically put it down. No questions asked. Even if it was an accident, even if the kid pulled the dog's tail or stepped on the dog or kicked the dog or whatever, we put it down. As a society, everybody says, that's sad, but we accept it. Why are humans any different? And people might say, well, human life is worth more than animals. Why? In my opinion, that's inaccurate because humans have something that animals do not. Animals do not have malice. Malice is only starts to exist when you move up the chain of intelligence. For instance, orcas have malice. You ever seen what they do to seals? But they're a more intelligent animal. See? Dolphins have malice. I find it funny that killer whales are just big dolphins and they both have malice. Something they have in common with us. Chimpanzees, they have malice. The smarter you get, the more intense emotions are created as a species. And one of the first things that is created is malice. And if you can't manage it, then you become us. You become where our nation is currently. You become chimpanzees. Territorial apes with nuclear weapons. That's what you become if you can't manage malice. Like I said, I don't want to do this. I'd be much more content if I could get a place sitting behind a computer, playing my video games, and writing books and creating games. I just got to a point with my 3D modeling that I can actually start modeling stuff with PS1 graphics. Thank you, GameDev.tv. No, this is not a sponsored video. I'm literally using that product to learn because I can't afford college. And people might say, why don't you use that money to go to the doctors? Because I can spend $15 what I'd spend on a lunch or putting gas in my car to try to learn a skill that could possibly earn me more money. Going to the doctors costs $5,000. I was supposed to have a CAT scan on my body a long time ago for a growth that I have somewhere inside me. And I literally don't have the money to do that because even with insurance, the CAT scan was $5,000 because I had insurance at the time that I went. And I get it. I'm trying to play on empathy for people who don't have any, for leaders that don't have any. Leaders send people to die every day. What's one more? They don't look at us as people. They look at us like numbers. Same as business. At least I see my business owner at least once a week. At least I'm able to talk to him face to face about what I have going on in my life. And that is very rare for a business. And I'll tell you something else about my business. We have people who support what happened to Charlie Kirk, and people who think it was a national tragedy, working in the same place, coexisting together, and able to have conversations about it. Of what, why, what's the point of view, what is your point of view, why do you think that way, and we can come to some kind of common ground or understanding. We need more of that in this nation. And the people who can't do that, people who can't have those hard conversations, people who can't live in a civilized society, well, something needs to be done about them. I don't know what. I'm just a working class individual after all. What do I know? I think the problem is that we don't know. And we're not told the truth, ever, in any capacity. We're told what is convenient. And then the people who are making us this way, who pin us against each other, just run off with everything they took from us, including our humanity. So, I hope somebody of import sees this, and I hope that people start having a little bit more empathy than what we've had in recent years. My thoughts and my prayers go out to Charlie's family, and I hope everybody stays safe. And I guess it's time. Back to work for me. Have a good one.